Good afternoon, everybody. I know we got some people coming in the door here, so we'll get rolling. However, I know things have been running a little bit late on and off here today, but we're going to try to get everybody back on track here, so we'll start right away here. So my name is Michael Smith. I'm the Member Benefits Chair for NAFA, and it's my pleasure to introduce you and welcome you to Addressing Retiree Risks During Retirement. Now, at this time, if you can all turn off your cell phones or iPads and or at least put them to mute. In Wisconsin, we have a little bit of a little program we have that if your phone goes off during a presentation, you give $100 to IFAPAC. So if you want to give it $100 to IFAPAC, go ahead, leave your phones on. I'll give you a call in like a minute. So otherwise, please turn off your cell phones. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker. Tim Kiesling began his financial service career more than 20 years ago as a financial advisor before moving to the home office of a Fortune 500 company. Over time, he was promoted to increasing positions of responsibility, including investment product consultant, regional wholesaler, and regional director. Tim is an active member of NAFA and the Society of Financial Service Professionals. He's from my neck of the woods in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Please welcome Tim Kiesling.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm going to try not to let the Milwaukee accent throw anybody. Does that sound fair? So we'll get started. The boomers are coming. The boomers are coming. For how many years have we heard this? 78 million baby boomers are going to make their way through the retirement phase by the year 2020. And a 2013 LIMRA study says they're bringing with them $22 trillion worth of retirement assets, 2/3 of which are going to be used for income. But the retirement that they're coming into is different than the retirement of previous generations. And the mindset of these clients needs to change as well. What I mean by that is for so long, they've been focused on gathering and growing. Gathering my assets and watching them grow, usually with a defined end point, maybe age 65 or some point down the road. But they had an idea of when this was going to end and what they were looking to do. But what do they have to do now? Now they've got to turn those assets into an income stream. And they've got to have the ability to take what you've done for them, grown those assets, and now turn it into an income stream. And I would offer that today's retiree, the success of their retirement is not going to be based on the size of those assets. It's how efficiently are we going to take those assets and turn them into an income stream. And that's the challenge that our retirees are facing today. That's also why, even though there's all the online tools, even though there's all the books, they still need our help more than ever before. And as we walk through this, I'm going to share some things that I think really hammer home that point, that when left to their own devices, sometimes our best and highest work is protecting them from themselves and not listening to their friend at Starbucks, and instead getting professional advice around their retirement. The situation they're facing, this is what it used to look like for retirees, right? They had three aspects. I had my pension, I had my Social Security, and I had my personal savings. Two of those three legs are designed for what? Income. Exactly right. How's that stool looking right now? It's probably short enough I could sit on it. And there's legs that are missing altogether. But what are they seeing? What is the challenge that they're facing? Well, a lot of the retirees in prior generations worked their entire career for the same company. And then at some point in the future, they gave them the gold watch and a pension which provided an income stream that they could not outlive. And every month they got that consistent, guaranteed income stream, oftentimes with a cost of living adjustment that took care of their income needs. Well, what's happening now? What's happening to the pensions? They're all but disappearing, right? And this is the challenge that we're facing. Right now, less than 19% of the workforce is eligible to receive a pension. If you take away the local, state, and federal government employees, less than 2% of the population right now is covered underneath a pension. So that guaranteed income stream that they had in the past is gone by the wayside, and it's not coming back. But I would offer even those folks that got or are about to receive that local, state, and federal income, or pension? How confident are they right now? Probably not very confident. We've all heard the stories, right? States, we can name them. What are they? Illinois, Detroit, bankrupt. I heard in New Jersey over here. What about Colorado? These are all the states that we're hearing. They're massively underfunded in their pension requirements. So these folks that thought, I'm okay, I'm a government employee, I'm going to be fine, are finding out that in fact they're not. And they are going to have challenges as well. So instead of getting all this income stream, what do our clients get now? Lump sum, a pile of cash. And now the challenge falls on my shoulders to make that last at least as long as I do. So now I would offer, with employers shifting this responsibility to our individual clients, with most employers dropping their retiree health benefits, the two biggest costs our clients are going to face during retirement are now solely bared by them. And this is the challenge that they're entering in. So this is one of the legs. The other leg we mentioned was Social Security. Now we can toss out statistics, and it depends on if you read last week's report or the report this morning or whatever it might be. At some point, they're running out of assets, right? And so the issue is not that I believe Social Security is going away, because for the reasons I'm about to share, I don't think it's going away. But it needs modification, because the promises they made for future generations can't be withheld based on a couple different things. Number one, more and more people are retiring. The ratio to retirees to workers is dropped significantly. In addition to that, people continue to live longer and longer and longer. It draws more and more income out of the system. There's some interesting statistics out there right now. There's more than 59 million people that receive some type of Social Security benefit. Now that's primarily retirement benefit, but there's also survivor benefits and disability benefits as well. The average payment that they receive, just under $1,300, $1,294 a month. The stat that really surprised me, Social Security represents 38% of income for the average retiree. And for widows, for more than 40% of widows, it is the only source of income that they have. This is why I believe Social Security is not going away anytime soon. There's a bunch of different political issues as well. Social Security is here to stay. And it plays a critical role in what our clients are doing. Because oftentimes when we sit down and we talk to the clients, right now the thought is, well, I'm not sure Social Security is going to be there. I think it is, but I think just as importantly is how do we position this with the client? So one of the questions I often ask a client is, Mr. and Mrs. Client, as you're preparing to enter retirement, what is the largest asset that you own? And what are the responses I hear? Home? 401k, maybe. Some of them bounce back up. What about the income stream that they could get off their Social Security? If you look at an individual that lives to average life expectancy, on an individual basis, that payout's north of $300,000. Married couple, north of $650,000. If you have a married couple and one of them lives to 97, the payout could be in excess of $1 million from Social Security. So this is the role that Social Security plays in generating that income. I don't think it's going away, but when I look at the stool and I look at the Social Security leg, it at least needs to be tightened and modified, but I don't believe it's going away. So what do we look at then for personal savings? Well, you'd certainly think they've taken away my pension, they've taken away my Social Security, I better step up to the plate and start planning for my retirement now. How many clients are doing that? And how many of them are just burying their heads? Right now, less than 43% of folks that are eligible to participate in a 401k choose to do so. More than half of our clients don't even take the free money being offered by their employer via match. They simply choose not to participate. If you're looking at the median balance in a 401k account for an individual between 55 and 64, what's the median balance right now? Yeah. Oh, how I wish, right? Oh, how I wish. $100,000. Huh? Has anyone heard of the Comma Club? Does anyone know what this is? My mother lives in a 55-plus community, and there's a certain group of folks that are very proud that they belong to the Comma Club. The Comma Club is those retirees who have more than $100,000 in their 401k. And it's often right at $100,000. And they comment over and over, I'm set. I'm 66 years old. I've got $100,000 in my 401k. I'm set. Now, why do they say that? Because it's more money than their parents ever saved in their retirement, and their parents are okay. So they feel perfectly confident in their retirement. What you want to do, what I suggest we do, is let's introduce the 2 Comma Club. You better have at least $1 million in the portfolio in order to be properly prepared for retirement, especially as long as people are living. So the challenge here is how do we get these folks that are facing these challenges, that have this stool where the pension leg is gone, Social Security leg needs an adjustment to it, and no one's paying attention to their own personal savings. How do we help these clients? Well, if these were the only issues, it might be easy, but there's a number of other risks that they have, right? One of the risks I hear all the time as we're traveling around the country talking to advisors and clients is, what about inflation, Tim? I'm worried about inflation. Is it inflation or is it deflation? I might suggest it's deflation, not inflation. Now you might say, well, hang on, Tim, hang on. Has anyone seen how much money they printed as part of quantitative easing? You know, last time I heard $3 trillion were printed. Of course you print that much money, and what's going to happen? Inflation goes up, right? Maybe. What's the other component of inflation? The velocity, the use of the money. If I print all this money and bury it, there's no inflation. It's only when I'm using my spending. What's happening to boomers' spending? Is it going up or going down? If you take out healthcare, it's going down. Okay? The boomers have done their spending. They bought the McMansion, they bought the Beamer, they did the Botox, everything's done. And their spending is going down and down and down more every single day. Now you pile that on with the iceberg. Everyone talks about the top number, 17 trillion. What about the bottom number? If we account for our future liabilities for Social Security, Medicare, and the other liabilities that the government has put forth for our retirees, it's almost $87 trillion. Now, I did a little exercise because I tried to explain to my kids what a trillion is, because they don't know anymore. It's another illion. And I think a lot of our clients have gotten that way of, oh, guess what? We're up to 15 trillion in debt. We're up to 16. We're up to 17. Who cares? Think of it this way. If you had a son or daughter that was born today, or a grandchild that was born today, and we wanted to make them a millionaire, if we started depositing money into their account every single day from now until age 80, if I put $34 aside, assuming no earnings, no taxes, I'd make that child a millionaire. $34 a day. If I wanted to make that child a billionaire, I would need to put $34,000 every single day from age 1 to age 80. If I wanted to give them a trillion, I'd have to set aside $34 million a day every day from age 1 to age 80 to get to $1 trillion. We're at 87 trillion and counting. Why does this matter to our clients? At some point, this has to be reined in. Well, the only way to do it is to reduce spending or to increase taxes. Either one of those are either going to cut the benefits to my retired clients, or the taxes is going to take more money out of their pockets. Both of those issues put deflationary pressures down. I think we're going to be in a low interest rate environment for a long time. And I've been saying for a number of years we were going to. And when I was calling in advisors 6, 7, 8 years ago, they said the rates have to go up, Tim. Eventually they might, but the scenario right now is not conducive to seeing a rising interest rate environment. I think we're actually going to see a stable or decreasing interest rate environment. Now that's inflation and deflation. What's one of the other risks that we see when we're trying to put together a portfolio to produce income for our clients? One of the questions I hear is, well, how much money can I pull off of that portfolio every year? And I found it very interesting. In 2009, right as we came out of the market downturn, arguably, potentially, the greatest downturn that our retired clients will ever see in their lifetime, there was a survey done. And they said, as you're approaching retirement, what do you think is the safe withdrawal rate as you enter retirement to make sure your portfolio lasts at least 30 years? Here's what they found. 41% said, you know what, I've been battered so much in the market, I don't even know anymore. I can't do this. 15% said 4% or less. The largest contingent, 44%, said I could conservatively pull off 5% or more every single year for the rest of my life. By the way, what was the number one answer for the safe withdrawal rate? Who said it? 10% was the number one choice for a conservative withdrawal rate that would last me the rest of my life. I can't give a more ringing endorsement for the work that you do with our clients than to talk these people off a ledge like this. Because Susie's not doing it and Dave isn't doing it. They're reading these books and they're thinking I can pull off 10, 12, 15% every year. They are desperate for your guidance to help them create a portfolio that will last. What do we typically see as a safe withdrawal rate? Yeah, I hear 4, sometimes 4.5. It's interesting, about a year ago, William Bengen, who's the financial advisor who did the research behind this safe withdrawal rate, he's the one that came up initially with the 4%. He retired last year and sold his practice. And they did an interview with him at the end of last year. And part of the transcript of that interview read, when they asked him what he thought about the 4%, 4.5% withdrawal rate, what he said was, for most people, to be perfectly honest, applying a 4.5% rule is probably not wise, even dangerous, because there are very simple assumptions I use to develop that rule. Most people's retirement is more complex. I wouldn't do it unless you have a very simple retirement situation. You will be misled if you try and apply that 4.5% rule directly to your investments. This is the father of the safe withdrawal rate. He went on to say, in a sustained low interest rate environment, we cannot adhere to a 4.5 or 4% anymore. It just doesn't work. Shortly after that, the Wall Street Journal put out an article in which they identified the bulletproof withdrawal rate. Does anyone remember what they said it was? 2%. 2% is now considered the bulletproof withdrawal rate. So sit with me for a second. You've got a client that's got $2 million in their retirement portfolio and wants to live the lifestyle of someone who has $2 million. And I've got to explain to them that they can pull off $40,000 a year every year for the rest of their life. But Tim, all my friends are saying I can pull off $200,000, 10%, fine. And I'm coming in at 40. This 80, thank you. Public school math, it's late in the day. This is the concern that they're facing. There's got to be a better way to help these clients. But it's not just the withdrawal rate. Here's a chart that Ibbotson puts together, and they show a $500,000 portfolio, half in large cap stocks, half in intermediate bonds. And if you look at these withdrawal rates as they go up, 6, 7, 8, and 9%, look what happens, how quickly they run out of money. Keep in mind that every one of these rates are safer than what the general public said was a safe conservative withdrawal rate, right? Every one of these should last 30 years. But what happened between 1973 and 1974? Does anyone remember? Yep. Yeah, between January of 73, December of 74, the Dow dropped 45%. Does the Dow ever drop 40%? You have clients that are living through this right now. They retired and they're sitting and living through this. This will be the easiest slide for compliance to update because all they have to do is change that to 2007, carry it forward, and it's the exact same scenario. This is what Prudential a couple of years ago referred to as the retirement red zone. We can't make mistakes. Our clients can't make mistakes the 5 years prior to retirement and the first 5 years into retirement. That's a sacred time that we can't make mistakes. Now, the challenge with this is, though, it's not just the withdrawal rate that our clients are applying. Remember, on the distribution side, things are different than the accumulation side. So the client that says, well, if I'm getting 10, 12, 20% in my account, why can't I pull off 5, 6, 7, 8%? And it's because on the distribution side, even more than the average rate of returns, it's the sequence of those returns. I work with an advisor in the South, and he explains average rate of returns during retirement as this. During retirement, Tim, if your head is in the freezer, and I'm going to be polite, and my backside is in the oven, on average, you are not comfortable. Okay? Does everyone follow me? Averages mean nothing during retirement. It's the sequence of returns that comes into play. So let's take this yellow, or the 5%. That's on the left-hand side here. Exact same thing I just showed you. 5% coming off a $500,000 portfolio. The only difference is on the right-hand side, we've inverted the sequence of returns. All I mean by that is instead of the ugly stuff happening in the beginning, it happens at the end. Here, I'm broke. And I'm not dead broke. That might be okay. I'm alive and I'm broke. That's a problem. On the right-hand side, I've got $1.6 million left. All this comes down to is, Mr. and Mrs. Client, do you feel lucky? That's all it is. Now, do I want to sit in front of my client and say, Mr. and Mrs. Client, I hate to tell you this, but 30% of your retirement viability is based on luck? Of course not. That's not what we want to do. So we've got to find a way that we can produce an income stream that even if they're starting out and the timing isn't right or isn't perfect, isn't good, that we can still produce an income stream for them that takes away some of the sequence of return risk, that takes away some of the withdrawal rate risk, and doesn't force them to sell in a downturning market. Now, in addition to these risks that we talk about, there's some other gambling that we have to do here when we're talking about retirement risk. There's a 3% chance you will lose your home due to a fire in your lifetime. How many people have homeowners insurance? There's an 18% chance you will total a vehicle in your lifetime. How many of us have car insurance? There is a 72% chance you will have a long-term care event before you die. How many of us have long-term care insurance? How many of us talk to every one of our clients about long-term care? Sure. Yep. On the fire, it's 3%. Car, it's 18%. In the long-term care, it's 72%. So we all said we take care of the home. We all said we'd take care of our vehicle. But it was scattered at best when we talked about long-term care. Now, I know there's issues. I know underwriting's tough, okay? And I'm going to address some of that in a minute. This is an issue we have to talk to our clients about. They are desperate for our advice. They're being forced in the sandwich generation. How many of us know a client that is taking care of an elderly parent, trying to save for their own retirement, and either paying for the kids to go through college, or the kids just move back into the house because they can't find a job after graduating from college? That's the definition of the sandwich generation. Yeah. Yep. There you go. That's the problem. That's the squeeze, and this is the issue we're facing. Yeah? We've got to talk about the long-term care issue. It's one of the biggest concerns we're going to see. This is a picture of my father on the right-hand side. My little guy Connor in the middle, and then the ugliest of the three, I'm off on the far left. My father was an attorney, most intelligent man I ever met. Literally would read New York Times, USA Today, Wall Street Journal. And as a kid, I never understood the Wall Street Journal because there were never really any pictures, so I didn't get it. Constant reader, most intelligent person I ever met. Went to law school late in his life, graduated when he was 38, had 3 kids. He worked harder than anybody I've ever met. I do not remember a day when my father didn't either go into the office or at least work in his office downstairs. One Sunday morning, I got up, headed to church with my, at that time, girlfriend, now wife. Went to her parents afterwards for lunch. As we're sitting down for lunch, the phone rings, and my twin brother says, "Tim, you need to get to the house. The ambulance is here, and they're taking Dad to the hospital." Okay. So I pull up. My father served in the military. I had never seen my father cry in his life. I literally saw him break his leg and just stand up and walk to the hospital. I had never seen him cry. I came around the corner into the cul-de-sac. They're wheeling my father out. He's holding his head, screaming at the top of his lungs in pain. We get to the hospital. Myself and my two brothers are sitting there along with my mom. And the doctor comes out and says, it's not good. Unfortunately, we're taking him into surgery. He suffered a brain aneurysm, and he's not going to make it through the night. For those of you who know short, stubborn German men, the last thing you want to do is tell them they can't do something. My father survived the surgery. They said he wasn't going to make it through the night. He made it through the night. And every day we'd go to visit, and they'd say he's not going to make it through today. Day after day after day, he continued to fight. At the end of that summer, they said he's been in the hospital for 90 days. He's not getting any better. Take him home and let him die in comfort. My mother was a nurse. She said, nobody's going to take better care of my husband than me. She retired early from the job force and took care of my father 24/7 as he fought cancer, dementia, too many strokes that I can't even remember how many, and every other medical ailment you could find over the next 17 years. And absolutely devastated my parents' retirement. Wiped them clean. Nothing left. He had an advisor. That advisor had talked to him about life insurance. Not nearly enough, mind you, but he had something. There was a little college fund set up for each one of us boys. The one thing no one had ever talked to my father about was long-term care. He had the other things set up and ready to go, but the long-term care devastated them. Now, in full disclosure to the financial advisor my father worked with, if he had brought it up, my father would have said, I'm never going to need it, right? He was too proud. He was never going to be the one that needed it. Even though every medical indicator gave us that he was the prime candidate for long-term care. The reason why I bring it up, though, is not only the long-term care element, but I think it brings to the point the most important risk we have to take off the table when we're talking to our retirement clients. And that is, in addition to long-term care, in my opinion, the biggest risk our clients face is longevity. Yeah. I apologize. I brought the room down. We're going to bring it back up, right? Okay? Keith is actually dead. He just doesn't know it, okay? You want longevity? It's these guys, okay? But this is the risk. The reason why I say longevity is if my father had passed away that night in the hospital, Mom would have been okay. And I distinctly remember about 2 years before my father passed away, he sat down and he told me, and he called me Tommy. That's my twin, okay? At that point, he didn't know, even though my twin is the giant in the family. He's about 5'5". So clearly, I'm not Tommy. He said, Tommy, if I had died that night, Mom would be okay. And it's my fault that she's not going to have the retirement she wants. Proudest man I know. And he was devastated by it. This is what our clients want. They want our help. And they need our help. And they don't know how to manage all this. And yes, as they stated this morning during the Life Happens segment, people are going to push back on us. They will. But our responsibility is to go back to them and say, here's why I'm talking about this. One of the managing partners I work with says, we do not have the choice to pick and choose which one of our clients' problems we solve. We simply have to present them. And then if they choose not to engage on that, at least we can take comfort in knowing that we talked about them. These are the issues we're trying to face. So let's look at some longevity statistics real quick. This is another chart that basically says if I've got a husband and wife that are alive at 65, guys, there's a 50-50 shot we're going to be around at 85. Ladies, you still have us beat. You're going to be around to 88. And if you have a husband and wife that are alive at 65, there's a 50-50 shot one of them is going to be here at 92. The one that's really interesting, there's a 1 in 4 shot one of them is going to be here at 97. Now, a lot of times when I'm working with individual producers, I'll ask them to bring the other advisor's recommendation for a portfolio. What age do they use for life expectancy? Typically? I see high 80s, 90s is the number I typically see. 90. 90. That's half of the portfolios are destined to fail because we're not planning for longevity. This is the type of planning that our clients want us to do. I love this quote. I can't even get a senior discount at my favorite ski resort anymore because you have to be 80 to get the senior discount now. Does anyone remember when Willard Scott used to be on the Today Show? And he did his little Smuckers episode? And if you were 88, 90, that was a pretty big deal. But now when, Al's off sunning himself and Willard comes in to sub for him, they do the Smuckers episode. If you're not 102 and driving, it's really not that impressive anymore. People are like, oh yeah, I know somebody that's 100. We all know somebody that's 100, right? This is the issue that we're trying to face and what we're trying to do. So, how do we handle that risk? We have to transfer it. We can't handle that risk on our own. We have to transfer that risk. How do we handle the long-term care risk? In my opinion, you transfer that. What about legacy planning? Don't leave $200,000 in a CD to leave our beneficiaries $200,000. Why don't we use life insurance to more efficiently take and transfer those assets? That's what we're going to talk about. So how can we do that and solve our problems? Number one, in my opinion, we've got to keep it simple. If we cloud it too much with the clients, they push away from the table and they choose to do nothing. I would offer that that's a worse scenario than actually engaging them. We've got to keep it simple so that they can understand. They want to be able to explain. My mom knows nothing about finance. Nothing. But she knows every month she gets that little annuity and puts some money in the checking account. She looks like the Warren Buffett of the 55-plus community because no matter if the market's up, down, or sideways, she's getting that regular, consistent income. I've explained it to her that it's easy enough that she can understand it. Okay? What do our clients want? They want income, asset protection, and a little bit of growth. That's what they're looking for. So how do we do this? I think in order to step into this, we have to take care of their basic needs first. So there's a gentleman by the name of Mitch Anthony who has a book called The New Retirementality. Excellent book. And one of the pages in there is he takes Maslow's hierarchy of needs, for the human hierarchy of needs, and puts them on a retirement template. And what he says is this: until we take care of a client's basic needs during retirement, that client does not feel comfortable to go up to the next level, and then the next, and the next. So in other words, if we're not taking care of their basic survival money needs, how much money do I need every month, every quarter, every year to eat, to maintain my residence, and to just survive? How can I possibly think about what I'm going to leave to the kids? I can't. I'm not willing to take that risk because I'm afraid I'm going to outlive my money. Once I address that, then I can look at the safety money. Where's my safety money? That's paying the long-term care premiums. That's covering the disability insurance. That's taking care of the things that, what if this happens, am I going to be okay? That's what we're looking with that. Freedom money, can I golf? Can I take that trip that I always wanted to do? Do I have the flexibility to do the things that I wanted when I first sat down and thought, what would retirement look like to me? And how many clients do you know that aren't living the retirement that they promised us 10 and 15 years ago they were going to do because they're too worried about running out of money? They're too worried about what happens from a long-term care stance. So they're not living the retirement they want. What about the gift money? The gift and the dream money? What can I leave the kids? What can I leave my church? What about my alma mater? Do I want a building on campus with my name on it? You think I'm going to do that if I think I'm not going to run out of money? I want to be able to make sure I've got that money coming in. Once I address this, then I can move forward. I think the easiest way to do it, take a look at our client's guaranteed income stream. Mr. and Mrs. Client, what do we have coming in every month? Are you eligible to receive a pension? Is that a pension payable for one of your lives, both of your lives? Any cost of living adjustment on there? What do we have coming in? Most of them, unfortunately, as we stated in the beginning, not going to be eligible for a pension. But what's the other thing they could have? Social Security. We need to sit down and have a discussion with our clients. One of the ways that I think the easiest way that we can increase their Social Security benefit is actually pretty straightforward. Work longer and earn more. Oh, okay, Tim, right? That's easy enough. But what I mean by that is Social Security measures how many years of income, compensation. 35, right? So if I've got 30 years in, every year that I work, I knock out a zero and put something else in there. So I want to try and take and get rid of all the zeros and get some income in there. Mr. and Mrs. Klein, if you're eligible to work a few more years, you can knock out some zeros. The other thing is oftentimes at that end of the career, those are higher earning years. So I'm knocking out some of the lower income, replacing it with higher income. That's the easiest way to increase my Social Security. The second easiest is just delay, right? Every year I wait from full retirement age to age 70, I get an 8% increase from Uncle Sam, guaranteed. If I don't take my income at 66, but instead wait till 70, I get a 32% increase over those years. When's the earliest I can take my income? 62. How many people take their income at 62? About 58% of them. 58% of the population takes income at 62. Why? Because they can, right? Because they can. And let's be honest, there's also this fear of the 17 trillion and 88 trillion of debt. I'm going to get mine while I can get it, okay? Because it might be gone. So I get through some of that too. But for most clients, they're much better off waiting, if they can. The other thing we've got to mentally calculate here is if the market, or my safe withdrawal, or my safe accumulation product rather, is earning me 2% in a CD, if you can find that, and Uncle Sam's going to give me 8, am I better to delay Social Security and draw some of my retirement assets? Potentially, right? These are the types of discussions we need to have with the clients. One quick study, or one quick one we could do is file and suspend. File and suspend simply says, let's say I'm at full retirement age, I'm at 66. I have the ability to file for my benefit with the Social Security Administration and say, stop, don't send it to me. My wife can then file and get a spousal benefit. If she's at full retirement age, it's half of mine. And now mine continues to grow that 8% every year, and she's getting some income every single year. At age 70, mine pops in at that higher amount that I've earned. It's a way to get some income today, but still allow one of the wage earners to still see that increase. Keep in mind that if I get to 68 and I don't like this anymore, I can tell Uncle Sam, I don't want to suspend anymore, start sending me money. And in some cases, I could even say, I want you to go back to 66 and give me a lump sum today of those 2 years worth of payments and then start my money. So I've got some flexibility here as to how I can do this. This is not a locked and loaded issue, okay? But I've still got a gap. I did my pension calculation, I did my Social Security, and I've still got a gap. My recommendation is we use an income annuity, a single premium income annuity or a deferred income annuity. The DIA is a relatively new creature that's come on board in the last 2 or 3 years. Basically, it gives me the ability to write a check to the insurance company today. They babysit the money for me, and at some point in the future, they're going to start sending me income. I could be 40 years old and start to set aside these DIAs, and I could know exactly what my income is going to be at age 65. So there's ability in tools that can produce a higher income. Now, why do I say they produce a higher income? They produce a higher income because each one of the payments is made up of 3 things. You've got a return of my principal, I've got interest, and I've got this little thing called mortality credits. There's not a single other product out there that does this. Stocks don't, bonds don't, individual real estate doesn't. There's nothing that can pay me these mortality credits. What the mortality credits do is give me a bonus, if you will, a higher payout for living longer. And everyone says, wow, that's kind of hard to explain. Let me give you a story. This is Bernice. She likes to play cards with her friends. And they get together on January 1st every year, and they play cards. But Bernice always wins. Gladys always falls asleep. And Penny is always late. It's getting pretty boring. So they decide they're each going to throw $100 into the kitty, and when they come back January 1st next year, they're going to split it. Well, what happens January 1st when they come back next year? My good friend Tom Hegna likes to say they don't remember where they put the money, right? They're 90 years old. No, one of them's died. There's only 4 of them left. Okay? I've got a 20, so now I put in my 100, I get 125 back. 25% increase in 1 year. None of it's invested in the market. It's invested in a CD. I get mortality credits because I'm still here. They're gamblers. They put it all back in and do it one more time. They come back the next year, there's only 3 of them now. $500 divided by the 3 of them gets them $167 apiece. 67% rate of return in 2 years, no market risk, no investment risk. It's simply because they're still here. So it's the ability to pool risk to receive a higher payout. It's the opposite of life insurance. Life insurance pays us if we die too early. The annuity simply covers us if we live too long. So here are the corresponding rates. These are as of earlier this summer. I checked last night. They haven't changed much at all. But if I'm a 65-year-old couple, I could get a corresponding payout rate of 5.6% joint survivor with a 10-year period certain. If I'm 65, that means as long as I'm living, as long as my wife is living, we get that payment, but somebody's getting it for at least 10 years. I would offer to you there is not a CD and not a savings account anywhere in the country that's going to give me the ability to pull off 5.6% every single year, guaranteed, no matter how long I live. It doesn't exist. If I wait till 75, it goes to 7.15, and if I wait till 85, it jumps to 10% I can pull off. This is the ability to produce a higher level of income, because a CD is not designed to produce income. It's an accumulation vehicle. We need to use the appropriate product, bless you, to solve the appropriate solution. Another way to put it, over the long term, the sustainable withdrawal rate from an individual distribution portfolio is significantly lower than the payout rate that we just saw from a pooled source such as a life annuity or a pension. Individual distribution portfolios must be designed to last at least as long as the life expectancy of the individual retiree. Pooled distribution portfolios are designed for the average life expectancy of members. Those of you who may have read some of Jim Otar's information, he is an engineer by background. I like this quote instead. While nothing is more uncertain than a single life, there's nothing more certain than the duration of 1,000 lives. And the insurance company knows this. So they can pool the risk and give a higher payout to our clients because they know when our clients are going to die. Now, they don't know the exact date, right? But they've got an idea of when this pool of individuals are going to die. So this gives me the ability to produce a higher level of income for the same resources. Depending on the interest rate environment that we're in, I've been able to see that we've got clients that come in and purchase an income annuity for $600,000, and I can produce the same amount of income as someone who has a mutual portfolio of $1 million. I can come in and match it with 40% less assets, and I can give them the same level of income, and I can do it guaranteed. What does that do for the client's risk during retirement? Withdrawal rate risk is gone. Sequence of return rate risk is gone. They just sleep better at night. This is what our clients want, is that consistent, reliable, guaranteed income. This is a fantastic article. If you Google that title, Income Annuities, Improve Portfolio Outcomes in Retirement, I apologize, as you know, as you've been able to see, I don't like any text on my slides. I drive compliance nuts by just putting pictures in there. I'm a visual learner. I think it works better. But I do want to pull a couple of quotes that came out of here. Again, income annuities improve portfolio outcomes in retirement. Income annuities generate more income per dollar of capital invested than any other income-generating asset class, non-correlated with markets, and perfectly hedged longevity risk. Higher income, non-correlated to markets, hedged longevity risk. Seems to make sense. There's no other investment vehicle in the marketplace that can convert assets and income as efficiently as the income annuity. So this is how we're going to take and solve our client's income point as we talk about that. Now, some of you might be in the back and say, you know what, Tim? I guess I'm maybe starting to believe on the annuity situation. But certainly, Tim, you're not suggesting that in this low interest rate environment, someone annuitizes this money, are you? That's exactly what I'm doing. Remember when we first started? I personally feel that we're going to be in a low interest rate environment for a long, long time. I think that's where we're stuck. But we're not taking all of our clients' dollars and putting them into this product. We're taking a portion of their portfolio and put it in. The remaining part of the portfolio should be invested in products such as stocks, mutual funds, that when interest rates go up, correspondingly the performance of those should go up as well. Could I not then take that gain, taken by a D, and lock in more guaranteed income? Yes. So it's got some opportunities there. Most of the other reason is each one of those payments was made up of 3 components, right? I had some principal, some interest, and mortality credits. The longer I live, interest plays a smaller and smaller portion. The older I am when I buy it, interest plays a smaller and smaller impact on that payout. So it's not just the interest rates. There's an opportunity here. But the other pushback that I get all the time is, have you seen the internal rate of returns on an income annuity, Tim? They're terrible. Why would I not just go into a mutual fund with the market taking off and stay there and do the income? I think that's an apples to oranges comparison. The income annuity is an insurance product, not an investment product. So the sole purpose of the income annuity is to make sure I have income for as long as I live. So an extreme example, I come into your office, I give you a check for $1 million. I choose a life-only payout, and you agree to send me 10 grand a month for as long as I live. 3 months from now, I'm walking down the sidewalk, and I get hit by the big red bus. All my money is gone. Did that product do exactly what it was supposed to do? It did. Now, I fully understand when my wife comes into the office and wants to know where the rest of the $1 million is, you're going to have an angry, angry woman on your hands. But if I've planned appropriately, is there maybe a more efficient way to transfer assets to my wife and kids? I would offer I should use life insurance instead. So is there an opportunity to take a life-only payout, which is taken by less than 3% of the annuities out there, and supplement it with life insurance and transfer those assets more efficiently? Maybe. But even if I'm a 65-year-old and I take a life with 10 or a joint survivor with a 10-year payout, the hit by adding that period certain to my payout does almost nothing, because the insurance company knows I'm not supposed to die at 75. My life expectancy is 85 and more. So there's the ability to produce a higher level of income. I just want to be careful that we don't get in the client's mindset that we're comparing an investment product like mutual funds with an insurance product. All that product is designed to do is produce income, and that's it. What about liquidity? Can you see why compliance doesn't like some of my slides? This is one I still have to try and get through. What about liquidity? Everyone's got the case where if I buy the income annuity, the house on the roof of my house is blowing off tomorrow, right? And then what do I do, Tim? Well, most contracts today have a liquidity option in them. I can gain access to that contract. That's number one. Number two, I'm not using all of the client's dollars to put this in. But number three, and perhaps what I think is the most important, is I call the clients on this. Mr. and Mrs. Client, you say that purchasing an income annuity is going to give you less liquidity? You say buying a long-term care insurance policy is going to give you less liquidity? I actually think it gives you more. And the client says, what do you mean? And I say, well, if this is our pile of money, so I've got my $2 million here, and that pile of money is supposed to generate income and cover my long-term care costs, can I buy a boat out of that money? No, that's my income and my long-term care money. I can't touch it. It has no liquidity. What if I took just this little corner, Mr. and Mrs. Client, and I'm going to buy you an income annuity, and I'm going to take that corner and I'm going to buy long-term care? Now you've got a pile of money you can do whatever you want with because I've met your other needs. Now I think you have true liquidity. But the challenge is the client wants to keep it all in one big bucket. And I'm saying, why don't we identify what each dollar's job is, and let's get it into the appropriate product, and I think you're going to end up actually with more liquidity as opposed to less. Clients still struggle with that one, okay? So I've put some of my income into this income annuity. What do I do with the rest of it? Well, here's where I optimize that portfolio. So Mr. and Mrs. Client, what's your risk tolerance? What's your time horizon? Do you own rental property somewhere else where you don't need to own real estate inside a mutual fund? What are some of the other things you want to do with that money? This is where we optimize the rest of those dollars to continue to offset inflation, to continue to grow the assets like our clients wanted to help offset the longevity risk. Now, is there any problem right now? There's a number of people that think we're at the top of a market, and we're about to have another correction. We all know what correction is, right? Correction is Wall Street language for a large number of people losing a large amount of money in a very short time period. People think we're at the top and we might be losing. Mr. and Mrs. Client, why don't we take some of that gain that you've got and let's purchase a deferred income annuity. Let's lock in that gain and start your income at 65. Now you're back to the money you started with, but we just locked in your gain. and you know some of the income you're going to start to get at age 65. I think there's a unique opportunity right now with sweeping some of the gains off the table and locking those in for the future. Just as adding bonds to a stock portfolio can improve portfolio outcomes, mixing income annuities with mutual funds help improve portfolio outcomes in retirement. It's no different than the diversification we use on the accumulation side. We're using product diversification on the distribution side. The one issue that some people often will ask me underneath the breath is, Tim, you haven't been producing for a while, but if I move money into an income annuity, my assets under management go down and my fee goes down. And I'm not going to take a cut in income, right? Have you heard the phrase annuicide? That's a phrase that's going around the industry now. If I have assets under management, I'm not going to commit annuicide on my book of business and move some of it over into an income annuity because now my fee structure just went down. I would offer every single study I've ever read shows that over the long haul, your actual AUM goes up over time. And the reason being is exactly what the research people said. Long story short, because we're not taking withdrawals out of that AUM, out of that investment portfolio, because the income annuity hits it, we've got the ability to continue to let those assets grow. Over time, you will see that every single instance that I've done, I've actually seen the AUM go up over time as opposed to going down. Okay? What about long-term care? Well, as we stated, we've got to address this. This is one of the bigger long-term care risks. Here are the comments that I hear all the time. Too expensive. And my answer is always too expensive compared to what? I realize the premiums are expensive. But Mr. and Mrs. Klein, if I want to cover $1 million potential long-term care event, I've got to set aside $1 million. Wouldn't it be more efficient to pay the premiums on a long-term care policy and use the pennies of those premiums to cover the dollars of a benefit? I think it will. We still have people that are stuck on number 2. What if I never need long-term care? Thank God, right? I'm going to fly home tonight. I promise you, I do not want to pull into my driveway and see my house in flames thinking, finally, I get to stick it to American Family. All those premiums I paid for these years, and now I get a benefit out of it because my house finally burned down. Come on, Mr. and Mrs. Klein. Is that really what you want? So you're saying you want to have a long-term care event so you win. We need to talk to them about it. And then they step back and they're like, well, no, that's of course not. That's what I meant. Not what I meant. But this is the things we just need to explain to the client. No, we're not trying to get this. Insurance is to protect us against a catastrophic risk. That's all it's meant to do. The bottom one, underwriting is tough. Underwriting is tough. You're right. But what if we get one of the two, of the husband and wife? Maybe we help save a family situation. Okay? But I get that it's tough. It's just something we have to have that discussion. And again, maybe we can help protect that family. Okay? This is something else I want to make you aware of. May of last year, the Pennsylvania court system said that a son was responsible for mom's long-term care costs because the son had the means at 85 grand of income to pay a $92,000 bill. There's another case that came right after this in New Jersey. Uncle with no kids. They found the nephew was the closest living relative. They made the nephew pay the bills for an uncle that he had never hadn't talked to in over 15 years. And they said, you're the closest living relative, you're on the hook for it. So these states and these companies are going back, or the hospitals are going back and saying, I'm finding a relative that's got deep pockets, and we're going to make them pay for this. That could be us taking care of mom and dad. So mom and dad, I want to have the long-term care insurance just to protect us. Finally, legacy planning. What do we want to do? How many of our clients are living a just-in-case retirement? What I mean by that is I'm going to keep this money here just in case. I don't want to spend the money just in case. And what ends up happening? They said they were going to buy the car, they were going to buy the boat, they were going to take the cruise, and they never do any of it. And then they die, and the kids get the money, and the first thing the kids do, buy the boat, take the cruise, right? This is what happens. Too many people are living a retirement that's too close to the vest and not anything like they said they wanted to do because they're afraid of leaving not enough money to the kids. Let's identify today, Mr. and Mrs. Klein, how much do you want to leave to the kids? We're going to buy a life insurance policy, put that in force today, and now what do we want to do with the rest of the assets? And you can go spend them doing whatever you want, and that you know your legacy's continued. One quick tidbit or strategy that you might give for this. If grandparents love the grandkids, right? Not so sure about their own kids, but they love the grandkids. Oftentimes they'll hear, Tim, I've been told I should buy a juvie life policy for my grandkids, but I don't want to put a life insurance policy on little Johnny, because I'm afraid if little Johnny, the only way I get to see a benefit of that before I die is if little Johnny dies. I don't like that. What if we did this? What if grandma or grandpa bought a joint and survivor annuity with little Johnny? I'm going to take $100,000, dump it into a joint and survivor annuity. Insurance company is going to make one payment every year on little Johnny's birthday. Insurance company sends me the check because I'm grandpa. I put it inside a card. I send it to little Johnny. I throw it into little Johnny's 529 plan. I take Johnny to the Yankees game. Doesn't matter. I've got complete control. What happens when I die? Every year for the rest of little Johnny's life, the insurance company sends him a birthday present from me, even though I'm gone. You think little Johnny's going to remember who I am? Yeah, more than the other grandpa? Which is all I want, right? Well, let's be honest. I want the grandkids to remember me. And if I was getting a $1,000 check every year on my birthday from my grandparents, now some people say, when Johnny's $60,000 isn't going to be able to buy him a cup of Starbucks. It doesn't matter. When he sits down to have that cup of Starbucks, guess who he's thinking about? Me. And that's what I want. That's the legacy that we could do. It doesn't have to be for income. There's some other purposes. Here's the review. Identify the income needs, develop long-term care, address the legacy goals, and optimize the remaining assets. My mentor, my good friend, my business partner is Tom Hegna. Okay? He's had a huge impact on me and what I've done. He's got a great book out right now called Retirement Income Masters that's all stories of different producers of what they did. In closing, as we're coming to the end, I want to share with you one of those stories that's in the book. This is a couple that lives out on the East Coast, and they retired. And they wanted to take a trip somewhere they'd never been before. So after much deliberation, talking back and forth, they decided they were going to take their first trip during retirement out west and head to Vegas. They fly into Vegas, spend a couple days on the Strip, and then they say, you know what, this is kind of busy, I need to step back here. And they decide to rent a car and drive through the desert. And they drive, and they drive, and they drive. And they're seeing mountains, they're seeing snakes, they're seeing scorpions, they're seeing cactus, they're seeing things they've never seen before in life. They're talking about all the trips they took with the kids, all the trips they're going to take during retirement, and everything is fantastic. And all of a sudden they see a sign on the side of the road. And what happens? Uh-oh. Wait a minute. Why didn't we stop for gas? How many times have I told you to stop for gas? We should have stopped for gas. Why did we rent such a big car? If we would have had the smaller car, we wouldn't run out of gas. Turn off the air conditioning. We need to save some of the mileage. What happens to the attitude in the car? Everything changes. And the reason everything changes is they know they're going to run out of gas. They don't know when. And everything changes. It's not the moment they run out of gas. It's the miserable 2 hours in the car listening about when they're going to run out of gas. I would offer this is the same scenario that many of our clients are facing during retirement. Many of our clients started out like that in retirement. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do with the grandkids. All the fun we're going to have. And instead what they do is they sit and they look at their gas gauge. But the gas gauge is not in their car. It's on their retirement income statements. And they sit in their house and don't live any of the retirement they want. When designed appropriately, we can put together a package for our clients that guarantees their gas gauge, their retirement income statement, never goes below a quarter tank. Doesn't matter where they drive, doesn't matter what the conditions are, doesn't matter how much money's printed, what the market does, they will always have a quarter tank of gas in there. That's the challenge that I would offer to each one of us. Our clients are desperate for our help. In closing, every dollar has a job. Our responsibility is simply to help our clients clarify the job for each dollar and then identify the most efficient financial product to get the job done. I thank you very, very much for your time, and I appreciate it.